I want you to picture two people. Same office building, same industry, both showing up every morning to the same kind of work in the same kind of city. The first person earns $110,000 a year. Pull up their life, and here's what you'll find. A luxury SUV on a 72-month loan. A wardrobe that gets refreshed every season because the previous season no longer feels right. A smart home system controlling lights they barely use in rooms they barely enter. A subscription list so long they stop tracking it. Streaming platforms, meal kits, app upgrades, premium tiers for tools they use twice a month. A kitchen stocked with appliances still wearing their original packaging. A spare room quietly doubling as a graveyard for exercise equipment, hobby supplies, and everything purchased with conviction that's since been replaced by newer conviction. This person earns more than 94% of Americans. They also check their bank balance the way someone checks if a stove they can't quite remember turning off is still on. Tense. A little sick. Hoping the numbers don't confirm what they already suspect. They are, by every visible measure, successful. Financially, they are one unexpected expense away from borrowing. The second person earns $67,000 a year. Walk into their life and you'll notice something different. Not poverty, not deprivation. Clarity. A reliable car, paid off. A home with rooms that are actually used. A closet containing clothes that are actually worn. A phone that still works and will continue to work until it doesn't. A bank account they check not with dread, but with the quiet satisfaction of someone who knows exactly what's there. They have 14 months of expenses saved. They invest automatically every single month before the money has a chance to become something else. They sleep without the low hum of financial anxiety that most people have accepted as the permanent background noise of adult life. Same city, same working hours. The person earning nearly twice as much has less than a tenth of the financial stability. This isn't a story about income. It's a story about the silent rules that separate people who always stay ahead financially from people who are always one step behind, no matter how much they earn. Before we get into these rules, if you're new here, this channel is called Begin Success, and we put out videos exactly like this one. Real financial frameworks, no fluff, no hype, just the stuff that actually moves the needle. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Now let's get into this. Here is the concept that is going to change how you think about every financial decision you make from this point forward. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is the one you see. It's the number on the receipt, the price tag, the monthly payment. That cost is visible, so people account for it. They debate it, they compare it, they sometimes sleep on it. But they see it. The second cost is the one that quietly drains you for years after the purchase. And most people never calculate it once. The second cost is storage. Every object you own occupies physical space, and space has a dollar value. In most mid-sized cities, you're paying somewhere between $25 and $45 per square foot annually in housing costs. That treadmill taking up 20 square feet of your apartment isn't just a treadmill. It's a $500 to $900 per year space tax on an item that currently holds your laundry. But I'm not done yet. The second cost is maintenance. That boat, that second car, that home gym. Each one carries an invisible invoice that arrives every year whether you use it or not. Industry professionals estimate annual maintenance at roughly 10% of an item's purchase value. A $25,000 boat costs $2,500 a year just to exist in your life. Not to enjoy, just to exist. Still not done. The second cost is mental energy. Researchers have found that visual clutter elevates cortisol, the stress hormone, and measurably reduces the brain's ability to focus. Every item you own occupies a small slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, insured, worried about, and eventually gotten rid of. Your possessions are billing you in cognitive load every single day, and that invoice never shows up anywhere you can see it. And there's one more. The second cost is opportunity cost. Every dollar locked inside a depreciating possession is a dollar not compounding in an investment. That $12,000 sitting in a jet ski depreciating in your garage could be $40,000 or more in 15 years inside an index fund. You didn't just buy a jet ski. You bought a jet ski instead of a piece of your future financial freedom. When you add the true second cost to the purchase price of most things, many possessions cost more to own than they ever cost to buy. The people who always stay ahead financially understand this instinctively. They don't avoid spending because they hate nice things. They avoid unnecessary spending because they've done the real math and decided most things simply aren't worth it. This leads directly to the first silent wealth rule. Rule 1. Calculate the real cost per use before every purchase. Before any money leaves your hands, you need to answer one question. How many times will I realistically use this? Not optimistically. Not based on the version of yourself you're hoping to become. Realistically. Take that honest number. Divide the total cost of the item by it. What you get is the cost per use. And it is the only honest measure of whether a purchase actually makes financial sense. Here's where it gets counterintuitive. A $600 jacket worn 300 times over 5 years costs $2 per use. A $120 jacket worn 4 times and abandoned at the back of the closet costs $30 per use. The expensive jacket is objectively cheaper in every way that matters. The cheap jacket was the wealth-destroying decision. It just didn't look like one at the checkout counter. This calculation is ruthless on impulse purchases. That $350 kitchen appliance you'll realistically use twice a month costs $14.58 per use in the first year alone. That is an extraordinarily expensive way to perform a task you could accomplish with a $40 tool that costs less than 20 cents per use by the same math. The $40 tool is not the budget option. It is the intelligent option. But the same calculation reveals exactly where premium spending is genuinely justified. A $1,800 mattress used every single night for 10 years costs approximately 49 cents per use. That is exceptional value for something directly affecting your health, your energy, and your cognitive performance every day of your life. A high-quality ergonomic chair used 8 hours a day for 5 years costs less than 30 cents per use. The math doesn't just justify the purchase, it demands it. This is the framework that cuts through marketing, social pressure, and the emotion of the moment. It doesn't care how the item looks on your shelf, what your neighbor bought, or how good the sale price is. It asks one cold, clarifying question. What does this actually cost every time it delivers value? People who always stay ahead financially run this calculation automatically. It becomes instinct. They're not cheap. They're precise. They don't avoid spending. They redirect it toward things that deliver real, measurable value per use and away from things that only feel valuable at the point of purchase. The cost per use framework is the foundation. Every rule that follows builds on it. Rule 2. Apply the replacement test to everything you already own. Walk through your home and look at each item you possess. Ask one question. If this disappeared today, would I actually spend money to replace it? Be honest. Not aspirationally honest. Actually honest. For most items in most homes, the answer is no. They exist through inertia, not intention. Gifts kept out of obligation. Hobby equipment from a phase that passed. Impulse purchases that made sense in the moment and haven't made sense since. These items have negative value. They cost you space, attention, and maintenance while delivering nothing in return. Silent wealth builders eliminate them without sentiment. Sell what has value. Donate what someone else can use. Discard what serves nobody. The financial space that opens up is immediate. The mental space is even more valuable. Rule 3. Never upgrade out of boredom. There is a pattern visible in almost every person who earns well but builds nothing. They replace things that work simply because newer versions exist or because familiarity has quietly become dissatisfaction. The phone still makes calls. The car still runs. The furniture still functions. But boredom dressed itself up as necessity, and another $1,000 walked out the door. Silent wealth rule. Never replace something that functions properly. Boredom is not malfunction. Desire for novelty is not malfunction. A newer model existing is not malfunction. The average person replaces a perfectly working phone every 2 to 3 years. Over a 30-year period, that pattern alone costs between $30,000 and $50,000 in unnecessary spending. Define functional clearly and protect that definition aggressively. Rule 4. Create friction for spending and ease for saving. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance without apology. If spending is effortless and saving requires effort, you will spend. The solution is not willpower. Willpower depletes. Environment is constant. Remove stored card details from online retailers. Install a mandatory 24-hour waiting period on every non-essential purchase. Automate investment contributions to leave your account on payday before you ever see them. Make the right choice the default choice. Research suggests the 24-hour rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desires for objects evaporate within a day if not acted upon immediately. The system does what discipline alone never consistently can. Rule 5. Count your possessions regularly. Counting forces awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation. Pick one category, clothing, kitchen tools, books, and count exactly what you own. The number will almost certainly shock you. Once you know you own 44 shirts, buying number 45 feels different. The absurdity becomes visible, and visible absurdity is the beginning of change. We need to stop here for a moment, because everything covered so far, the cost per use calculation, the replacement test, the upgrade trap, the spending friction, all of it has been about behavior, about what to do and what to avoid. But the people who always stay ahead financially aren't just behaving differently. They are thinking differently, at a fundamental level, about what wealth actually is. Here is the philosophical shift that separates them from everyone else. Most people measure wealth by what they have: the size of the home, the badge on the car, the watch, the wardrobe, the visible, tangible, photographable markers of financial arrival. This is the measurement system that the entire consumer economy is built to reinforce. Every advertisement, every status signal, every social comparison is designed to make you measure yourself by accumulation. Silent wealth builders measure wealth by something else entirely. They measure it by what they can choose. Can you leave a job that is slowly hollowing you out without panic? Can you absorb a financial emergency without it becoming a financial catastrophe? Can you say no to an opportunity that pays well but costs you something more important? Can you take 3 months away from work to handle something that actually matters? Can you make a major life decision based on what you want rather than what your monthly obligations demand? That is wealth, not the stuff, the options. And here is the part that most people never connect. Every unnecessary possession you own directly reduces your options. The money tied up in a car you don't need is money that cannot buy your freedom when you need it. The income consumed by a lifestyle built on accumulation is income that cannot build the margin that makes real choices possible. Every purchase is not just an exchange of money for an object. It is a trade of optionality for possession. Researchers studying financial well-being consistently find that beyond a certain baseline of comfort, additional possessions contribute almost nothing to lasting satisfaction. The upgrade high fades within weeks. The financial constraint it creates lasts for years. Silent wealth builders understand this not as a theory, but as a lived reality. They have done the trade consciously and decided that the freedom to choose, in any direction, at any moment, is worth more than any object that could occupy the same dollars. This is not minimalism for the sake of aesthetics. This is freedom purchased one deliberate decision at a time. And once you see wealth through this lens, you cannot unsee it. Every rule from here builds the system that makes it real. Now we shift. Everything up to this point has been about what to avoid. the upgrade trap, the accumulation drift. The second costs bleeding quietly in the background. That was the defensive game. These next rules are about building the system that keeps you ahead permanently. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you ever commit to ownership. Most purchases that end up as expensive regrets began as genuine enthusiasm. The problem is enthusiasm and sustained interest are not the same thing, and most people cannot tell the difference until after the money is gone. Silent wealth builders test before they buy. Want to get into photography? Rent the equipment for 2 months. Considering woodworking? Use a shared maker space. Thinking about a kayak? Rent one several times first. This approach does 2 things. It reveals whether the interest is real or temporary, and most interests, honestly tested, turn out to be temporary. And when ownership does make sense, it clarifies exactly what you need, so you buy precisely the right thing instead of an expensive approximation. Rule 7. Always calculate the full ecosystem cost. Every major possession connects to a network of supporting possessions and ongoing expenses that most people never calculate before purchasing. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, ventilation, and often renovation. A boat requires a trailer, storage, registration, insurance, and maintenance equipment. A pool requires chemicals, cleaning tools, covers, and landscaping. Silent wealth builders calculate the full ecosystem before committing to any anchor purchase. A $4,000 decision frequently reveals itself as a $7,000 or $9,000 decision once the ecosystem is mapped honestly. The multiplier works in reverse too. Eliminating one major possession often eliminates an entire category of surrounding expenses simultaneously. Rule 8. Define enough before you start earning more. This is the rule that traps high earners most completely. Without a defined finish line, every income increase simply funds a lifestyle upgrade, and the gap between income and expenses never widens enough to build real wealth. Decide in advance what kind of home is genuinely sufficient. What kind of car actually meets your needs? What level of material comfort constitutes real satisfaction? Then earn toward that fixed target instead of constantly moving the goalpost. The person who defines enough at $65,000 of annual spending and earns $140,000 builds extraordinary wealth. The $75,000 difference doesn't get consumed. It gets deployed. Rule 9. Practice cyclical decluttering instead of annual purging. One massive yearly purge followed by gradual reaccumulation is not a system. It is a cycle. Silent wealth builders perform small, consistent reviews instead, weekly awareness of incoming items, monthly evaluation of one category, quarterly assessment of overall trends. Removing 5 items per week is sustainable. Removing 300 items once a year is overwhelming, gets postponed, and rarely happens. Small, consistent, permanent. Everything covered in this video only has value if it moves from concept into action. So here is exactly where to start, broken into 3 tiers, 1 specific action each. No vague instructions. No, just be more intentional with money. Specific, executable. Starting today, this week, run the replacement test on your home. Set aside 30 minutes. Walk through every room with one question running in your mind. If this disappeared today, would I spend money to replace it? Do not rush it. Do not rationalize. When the honest answer is no, mark it. By the end of the walkthrough, you will have a list. That list represents dead financial weight you are currently paying to store, maintain, and mentally manage every single day. Take the items with resale value and list them. Take the items someone else could genuinely use and donate them. Take the rest and discard them. The physical act of removing things you would not replace is not just tidying. It is reclaiming the space, the mental energy, and eventually the money that those items were quietly consuming. Do this once and notice how it feels. Most people describe the result as unexpectedly light. This month, Install the 24-hour rule on every non-essential purchase. For the next 30 days, every time you feel the impulse to buy something that is not a pre-planned essential, you do one thing. You wait 24 hours. You do not debate it. You do not add it to a cart and stare at it. You simply close the tab, put the item down, and return to it the following day if the desire is still present. Track every instance. Write down what you wanted to buy and whether the desire survived the waiting period. The data you collect over 30 days will show you, in concrete terms, exactly how much of your spending is driven by genuine need versus impulse. For most people, that number is confronting. It is also clarifying. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories. Pick the 3 categories most likely to have accumulated beyond what you actually use. For most people, those categories are clothing, kitchen items, and entertainment or media. Count everything in each category. Write the number down. Then set a maximum threshold, the number that represents genuine sufficiency, not excess. Implement a strict one-in, one-out policy from that point forward. Nothing new enters the category without something existing leaving it first. This single constraint, applied consistently over 1 quarter, will permanently change your relationship with accumulation. Let's bring this all the way home. Every rule in this video, the cost per use calculation, the replacement test, the upgrade discipline, the spending friction, the ecosystem mapping, the defined enough, the cyclical decluttering, every single one of them points to the same truth. And it is this. The people who always stay ahead financially are not ahead because they earn more. They are not ahead because they got lucky, started early, or had advantages unavailable to everyone else. They are ahead because they made a quiet, deliberate decision about who they were going to be with money. And then they built a life consistent with that decision. They are not avoiding upgrades because they cannot afford them. They are avoiding upgrades because they understand that every unnecessary upgrade is a withdrawal from the account that funds their freedom. They are not driving modest cars because they have no ambition. They are driving modest cars because they calculated what that car payment would compound to over 15 years and decided their future options were worth more than other people's opinions of their vehicle. They are not living below their means because they lack imagination or desire. They are living below their means because they defined enough, clearly, intentionally, on their own terms, and discovered that enough is actually more than sufficient for a life that feels genuinely rich. This is the identity at the center of every rule covered today. Not deprivation, not minimalism as aesthetic, not frugality as a personality trait, but the quiet, unshakable clarity of someone who knows exactly what they are building toward and refuses to be distracted by everything the consumer world throws at that vision daily. Silent wealth does not announce itself. It does not park in your driveway or hang in your wardrobe or sit on your wrist. It lives in your options, in the job you can leave, in the emergency that does not become a catastrophe, in the opportunity you can say yes to because you are not financially obligated to say yes to everything just to stay afloat. The people ahead financially are not a different species. They simply play a different game, a quieter game, a longer game, a game measured not in what they own at any given moment, but in what they can choose at any given moment. Now you know the rules. The only question left is whether you are going to play. If this video gave you a new way to think about money, subscribe to begin success, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We will see you in the next one.